the housing crash in the UK. If you like these videos, guys, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification in the corner. It's crazy times at the moment. I just wanted to explain why my forecasts of a crash, the reasons behind it, so you can kind of work your way through that and then make your own forecast for the time ahead. So I've been looking for a place. Our tenancy has just run out. So we've been looking for a place to buy for a while. Obviously, London house prices have gone down about 20%. Another thing that I think is going to make a big difference at the moment and why there's going to be a massive crash after the end of all this is because of all the overseas investors. I mean, we're an island here in England and we haven't got that many houses yet. And people can't afford to buy them. So what they're doing is they're asking overseas investors, they're asking them to buy all the houses. It was already a big bubble. I mean, it crashed in 2008. Let's not forget about that. Subprime mortgages and ninja loans in America, where no income, no job. So anyone could get a house, and that's fine. And then obviously it all blew up, and house prices crashed. We're in a bigger bubble now. House prices are just massive, but you've got overseas investors buying them all as well. So, it's such a weird bubble right now that could really crash and crash hard. And that's how people buy houses. People don't see a 400 grand house and go, oh, I'll buy a 400 grand house, because very rarely do people have that money to buy that house outright. Back in the olden days, people might have saved up and bought a house that they own. Now, people might be paying 3 grand or something on a mortgage on a massive property that they can't essentially afford. If they lost their job or whatever, something bad happens, they're going to get their house taken away from them because they never really owned it. I wanted to use an example, place I used to live, and one of my friends who was telling me the story, I loved it. He said, my parents, when they were younger, my dad would just do crazy hours. And by crazy hours, I think he meant sort of 100-hour weeks to save up to buy their house. Their house in Southwold, which is a place in Suffolk, very expensive now. It's a nice place, right on the coast. And he bought it for 20 grand, right? I think it was about 1990, something like that. I've been looking at houses in this same road as my friend's dad bought their house, and I found one. It's the same thing. It's a 3-bed terrace on that same road, and in 96, it's not his house, but it's a few doors down. In 1996, it was 40 grand. It hasn't been sold. I think these guys still own it, so I wanted to use one just down the road from it, same road again, and 3-bed. This one's semi-detached, not terrace, but again, same road. £515,000. Now, if it seems like to me, people aren't realizing that this is just crazy. A lot of people are going, oh, you need to get on the housing ladder, you need to do this because houses just go up. But houses just don't go up like that. There's something in the financial system that is wrong. Inflation would not carry this from 40 grand up to 515 grand. It doesn't, in the same area, it does not work like this. It means money is being devalued massively, like I explained in one of my previous videos, and it's a bubble. So what's the real value of this house? Nowhere near 515 grand. People well overextend themselves. You only need to look into America for that. They're all got 8-bedroom apartments and enough space for 25 people in cars and everything like that, because they're so over leveraged, which is very dangerous, and it's something that scares me a lot in this country. It's probably even worse in America. But you're not buying a house for 515 grand. You're paying however much you need to pay, 3 grand a month. I mean, and in comparison, that's just very, very little. But this is why it's a bubble. It's not a real valuation of 500 grand, 515 grand. It's just mortgage rates are slow. It's forcing these prices up, which they have been. They've been steadily increasing for a long time now. The financial system is a mess, and why the crash could be huge is because what happens when houses can't be paid for? Someone loses their job and they can't afford to pay the house. The bank will take it off them. But the problem is, you might think, oh, okay, well, that's sorted. And it's not, because then the bank's got to sell the house. If the bank sold the house to someone at 500k and was getting mortgages that maybe they only got 50 grand's worth of mortgage payments, the bank have now got to shift that for 450 to break even. And if that doesn't happen, where are we? We're in trouble. If they sell that for 200, the bank are now in a deficit, and they can close. Big banks fail all the time. Mortgage interest rates is something, again, I don't know how much people understand about financial stuff like this, but the mortgage rates, because they're so low at the minute, it's great. Let's get in. Let's buy a house, 250 grand house, say. If that house goes up 1% in its mortgage rate, that's another £200 a month. And they can go up. In 2008, they went up. If they go up 5%, you could be paying so much more. And it happened. It happened, I think it was 2010. This was all kicking off. The crash of 2008. In 2010, they went up 5%. This could happen again. History does repeat itself. And if that happens, people are going to be so overextended. Say you have to pay another £1,000 on your house and you can't afford to, bank's going to take it. It's as simple as that. And that's another reason for a potentially big crash. The government at the moment are really kicking the can down the road. Something I love, the expression kicking the can down the road, because it is just, we know there's a problem, but we don't want to deal with it now. We'll let someone else deal with it, which is what's been happening for the last 12 years, really. After the crash, just, okay, no, that's fine. We'll sort it out. Kick the can down the road. They're doing it again. 95% mortgages. So all you need is 5% deposit, which is peanuts, really. And then so it means you can overextend, encouraging you to overextend yourself. Something that people in that situation shouldn't be doing, but obviously they know this is going to crash. They know, of course they know, but they don't want to deal with it right now because there is a lot of problems with the economy and everything. But if they can just gently push it, this for me, guys, is the biggest thing out of the lot. And it's, as I've got it on screen, what landlords need to know about Section 24. It's Section 24, and it's basically all the tax implications that have just come into play and what it's going to do for a lot of people that are in the wrong tax bracket. So a lot of landlords will own quite a few houses, and previously they could offset a lot of their money, like wear and tear, mortgage payments. That's gone now. And when that goes, you'll see a lot of people, I think a lot of people have already preempted this, and a lot of landlords with multiple properties have been selling them off. I know quite big YouTubers have been saying, I've been selling them off as sort of steadily as I can. They own 10 properties, because the reality is these tax benefits that they had before that they won't have now can be the difference between them making a bit of money, making good money, or making a loss. Like landlords will be losing money. What's the point renting and having all that risk and all those problems that you have to deal with, yet you're making a loss? I've seen some of the stats on it. It's incredible. Some people were losing like 14, 15 grand a year on 8 properties. So that's massive. So they are at the minute, and they will be selling off more of their properties, because pointless being a landlord now. All these, people that have 40% tax code, if that wasn't big enough, they're now they can't offset a lot of their expenses. And that's huge for this situation, and why I believe the crash is going to happen. So my forecast, guys, my prediction, as I've been saying through the whole video, all the reasons why I feel the bubble is inflating, and we're getting to a peak point here. The next few months are going to be, really put the last bit of air into that bubble. And then once things just get to that point, it will burst. And I cannot see how they can kick that can down the road. This forecast has to keep being adjusted. All this saying, what the numbers I'm seeing right now, my forecast is there's going to be a big crash, and it could be 30%, it could be 40%. With all these people in America as well, the housing market over there is the same. Australia, they're giving out mortgages that 10 times what you can in your income. Say you earn 20 grand, you can get 200 grand house on your own. Madness. 10 times. It's 4.5 in England, as roughly speaking. So if you earn 20, you can get 90,000 mortgage against your deposit. In Australia, new thing, 10 times. Everyone's trying to kick this can. Everyone's trying to keep that bubble inflated, but there'll be something that will come. And I think by the end of the year, it's going to see a big, big crash, and 30%, potentially more. And I hope you're good, guys. I hope you got some value from this video. I hope it wasn't too doomsday. It's just a crash, just money. Just money. Who cares? Take care.